To come to the first aspect of it, how does India receive me? India receive me in different ways because there is no one India in India today.
That's right, yeah.
And what this Modi regime has done is that it has polarized opinion to a very great extent. So there is a large section of people who want to hate you, who want to attack you. I get death threats almost on a daily basis. I get all kinds of threats almost on a daily basis. So every time I'm out of my university, I'm always very cautious on the roads as to who can attack me, who will, and that is the worst thing that can happen actually. And this is characteristic fascism. अब आप पुलिस से नहीं डरते, अब आप इंटेलिजेंस से नहीं डरते. When you are suspecting fellow citizens, you can imagine how bad the situation is. कि कहीं गौरक्षक तो नहीं है, कहीं एबीपी का आदमी तो नहीं, कहीं संगी तो नहीं है. अगर मैं किसी कैब में जा रहा हूँ तो मैं अपना ओपिनियन नहीं दूंगा अपने दोस्तों को because I don't know what is the ideology of the cab driver and what can happen. And we have seen how the prison impunity that the lynch mob is enjoying. So that is the very, that is what has happened to our country at this time. That is one aspect of it. But also there is one more aspect of it which is extremely overwhelming. It's been the kind of solidarity that we have received. बहुत सारे लोग मुझसे आके बोलते हैं in awe, in admiration that आप डरे कैसे नहीं? आपको तो इतना डराने की कोशिश किया गया, आप इतने उस वक्त इतना विछंड किया गया, तो आपको डर नहीं लगता क्या? तो मैं सबको बोलता हूँ मुझे डर लगता है. I am a human being. I am not a Superman, and there is no Superman in this real world. But one thing that keeps me going is the fact that I am not alone. And don't single me out. It's a collective battle. If so many people are standing together, then I don't have the liberty and the privilege to say, well, I am scared. Had they been able to isolate me, yes, I would have got scared and I would have sat down. But we are fighting back collectively in such large numbers. And that is what gives us strength. And that solidarity has been amazing. We've gone to different cities. So many people have come to listen to us. So many people we have interacted with, so many new friends we have made in this time, and also exchange of ideas has happened in this period in terms of how to sort of take it forward. A lot of people were saying last year that students have sort of become the extra parliamentary opposition on the streets to this government when there is no opposition on the streets. I felt that was too early a comment coming from some people. But students do have the potential in terms of to become the alternative, where they come up with an alternative program as young critical minds as to what why our country 70 years after independence is in the state that it is today. What has brought us here? What happened to secularism in our country? What happened to democracy in our country? And how come there is a force in power which was nowhere in the freedom struggle but is posing itself as the biggest nationalist of the time? How has our democratic institutions failed the people of a country before this regime came to power, sort of facilitating the rise of these fascists? So these are the questions that students have to pose. From where the real alternative will come? I don't think the real alternative will come from within only in the elections, where some party comes up and fights elections and defeats them. That is important, but the real alternative has to come in terms of alternative policies, in terms of an alternative program, and in terms of being out there on the streets to sort of make this popular. That is where I think students have a big role to play, and that is where all of us have received some kind of people have supported us, and there is some kind of acceptability that, and people want to know our views on things, and that is also brings a lot of responsibilities on our shoulders in terms of to really use this moment to provide that alternative to people, to provide an alternative politics to people, provide an alternative idea of development to people. And one thing about this regime has also been its very anti-Muslim character, and that has been no secret that they make of it. Right from Golwalkar, who identified Muslims, Christians and communists as his enemies, to this Prime Minister Modi, who has immense admiration for Golwalkar and keeps on quoting Golwalkar in his speeches, in his writings. He is implementing that agenda of his guru Golwalkar on ground today, and that is manifest in the attack on Muslims, Dalits, and by communists का उनका बहुत broad definition है. At times we become too doctrinaire in our approach, but they are not. They bind all of us together. So there, those attacks one can see. Alongside that, their alliance with US imperialism also sort of this merges even well. The war on terror, fascism, communalism sort of merges together. So Muslims have felt the heat, but Muslims have been one community that have also been historically betrayed by their own leaderships and by several parties who claim themselves to be secular. And they've never had a say in deciding who their leaders, community leaders also would be. It's always been top appointed. At that time, people like me, people like Shela, by virtue of our Muslim name, also some people also want to know as to what our views regarding this attacks on Muslims, which has been a daily feature of this regime. And that is also a responsibility that we carry. I had said at one point of time that, and I can repeat it again, that the last 1.5 years has been the time when I've been made to feel most Muslim. I've been made conscious of my identity as a Muslim. And I've come to realize that it's not about your set of beliefs, it's simply about your identity. If your name is Umar Khalid, you can be linked to Jaish Mohammed. If your name is Najib Ahmed, without any police investigation pointing in that direction, you can be linked with IS. And that is the reality of our country today. But after a point, I got fed up of clarifying again and again that I am a communist, I am an atheist. And I said this to people that if I were not a Muslim, I would not have been asked this question. Just because I am a Muslim, and that's why I am being asked this question. So rather than at times asserting your Muslim identity also becomes a political statement, and being part of and also giving a direction that one thing the Muslim community, and I think that people like us have a responsibility, and it's not just us, many others, it's always collective brainstorming that gives rise to these kind of thoughts, that there is a need for alliances between various movements, because the mobilization of Muslims alone cannot defeat the Sangh Parivar. They also know it, and they know it very well. One of the reasons why Sangh Parivar has it so easy is that except for openly declared Hindutva project, in terms of the opposition that is there now, does not have an alternative politics, an alternative model of development to present. Only yesterday I was seeing Modi's speech in Gujarat, where he attacked Rahul Gandhi, saying that Congress was also there in drafting of the GST. So the Congress party, many other parties, though their GST was different from what GST finally came in, but have been complicit in this kind of thing. And there to bring the secularism wala ladai with the ladai for an alternative development model, with the ladai for livelihoods, land, dignity, farmer suicides, employment, that is where we have to sort of unite these two things. One more thing I would want to say is that I have grown up in Jamia Nagar, which is one of the ghettos, one of the biggest ghettos of modern India, in the heart of the capital, and Muslim community in the last 30 years have been sort of condemned to live in this ghettoized existence. What happens as a consequence of that, and which is sometimes that we as secularists don't recognize, is that when you are growing up only within a certain community, your entire socialization is happening within a certain community, your identity formation happens only on those lines. Then your political associations also happen on those lines. Now there is a historical trajectory, it's a consequence of that. So one has to understand that, and one has to understand that the secularization within the Muslim community will also happen once you raise this larger problems of ghettoization, larger problems of the fact that they don't get jobs. What Sachar committee brought out, that they're not in jobs, they're not in education, they're not in police, army, bureaucracy, it's only in jails. The moment you raise these questions, you win the trust of the people. That's when you can also talk about secularism and the problematic traits within the Muslim community, the fundamentalist element within the Muslim community. But if the secular people of this country today go on a high pedestal saying that no, first you leave these things, that does not happen. That does not happen with any community. There are problematic elements within the Muslim community, they're out in other communities as well. So these are challenges. I think people like us have this responsibility to take this across, because we have access to both these spaces, to the civil society, to different people on the left, as well as to the community. And this dialogue is very important. The left and these different minority organizations, Dalit organizations need to come together and work together. That is a challenge, and that is a challenge we look forward to working for.
You're seeing it happening?
I am seeing it happening because also at times compulsion forces many things to happen, but beyond it being this ad hoc compulsive kind of a thing, one has to also understand theoretically why it's important. When I was raising this entire point about ghettoization, it's linked with the larger process of the Indian developmental model. Many times we say that communalism is to divert attention of the people away from the real problems, from this loot that's happening in the name of development. But we also need to understand that this development and this loot also has a communal character. It also affects certain communities more. It has a certain Brahmanical character. So if we sort of bring these issues together, and I think people on the left have a greater responsibility towards that. I mean, persecuted communities also have a responsibility, but by sense of their persecution, their concerns are much more immediate. Fake encounters, arrests, lynchings, that is what brings them out on the streets. But when they come out on the streets, for example, few campaigns that I've been part of, where campaigns have begun with mob lynching, but they've gone over till questioning the health paradigm of the Yogi government, which is responsible for deaths in Gorakhpur, going to farmer suicides, going to deaths of Dalits who are employed as manual scavengers in sewers. So these solidarities are emerging. What I see today in the students' movement and across the democratic upsurge in the country, there may be a vacuum in terms of a formal opposition that is out there. But vacuum is not necessarily something negative. It can also be something positive. It can be something positive to create something new. And there is a lot of churning. I don't know which direction it goes. I can only be positive and hopeful that it takes a new direction. Even this slogan, Jai Bhim Lal Salam, a lot of people are uncomfortable with it, both on the left as well as the Ambedkarites. But it represents a new kind of a thinking, where people are looking at the caste question, where the people are looking at the question of patriarchy, at the question of fascism, at the question of communalism, not as separate struggles from the larger class struggles that as communists we are supposed to fight. These are part of that class struggle. Something new is being born. How long it will sustain is upon us, and the responsibility upon us is to make that sustain. मेरे परिवार के लिए ये समय मुश्किल रहा है, लेकिन पहली बार नहीं था कि उन्होंने इस तरीके का कोई राज्य की तरफ से दमन देखा, खासतौर से मुसलमानों पे। जब आप एक मुसलमान मोहल्ले में पैदा होते हैं, वहाँ बड़े बड़े होते हैं, तो आप ये सब चीजें बहुत करीब से देख लेते हैं। और पिछले 20-15 साल में जब से ये वॉर ऑन टेरर का पूरा हवा बनाया गया, राम मंदिर आंदोलन के बाद जगह जगह दंगे किए गए। अगर मैं अपने ही इलाके की बात करूँ, मेरा इलाका एक ऐसा इलाका था जहाँ बहुत कम लोग रहते थे 30 साल पहले। ये राम मंदिर आंदोलन, बाबरी मस्जिद को डिमोलिश होना, गुजरात राइट्स होना, इसके चलते मुसलमान डर के वहां आके रहना शुरू किए। तो एक डर मुसलमानों में हमेशा से रहा है कि पुलिस आएगी, उठा के ले जाएगी, किसी दिन दंगा होगा। हमने खुद देखा किस तरीके से कुछ लोगों को फर्जी केसेस में फंसाया गया, बटला हाउस में एनकाउंटर किया गया, हमारे घर के बहुत करीब था। बहुत सारे लोग 5 साल 6 साल बाद जेलों से लौटे। तो एक्सपीरियंसेस रहते हैं, लेकिन आप इन सब चीजों में पार्टिसिपेट भी करते रहते हैं। मेरे पिता भी एज पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविस्ट इन सब कैंपेन में पार्टिसिपेट किए। लेकिन मेरी बहन ने मुझे एक बार बताया कि हम उन कैंपेन्स में थे, लेकिन कभी सोचा नहीं था कि ये सब विछांड इतना घर के करीब आ जाएगा। तो जब मेरे साथ हुआ तो उनको लगा हमारे घर के अंदर आ चुका है ये। उन पे भी हमले हुए, मेरी बहनों को बलात्कार की धमकियां दी गई उस समय, जब वो सोशल मीडिया पे कुछ लिख रहे थे। मेरी 12 साल की बहन को भी बलात्कार की धमकियां दी गई। मेरे पिता को अंडरवर्ल्ड डॉन का फोन आया और बोला कि मैं तुम्हें और तुम्हारे बेटे को मार दूंगा। तो धमकियां उधर भी आई हैं, खतरे उन पे भी रहे हैं। कंसर्न उनका मेरे प्रति आज भी रहता है, मेरा भी उनके प्रति बहुत रहता है। बिकॉज मुझे लगता है जो मैं कुछ करूंगा, इतना अनस्क्रूपुलस हमारा एडवर्सरी है आरएसएस कि वो पूरे हमला वो सिर्फ आप पे नहीं, आपके दोस्तों पे, आपके परिवार वालों पे भी कर सकता है। ये कंसर्न रहता है, लेकिन इस कंसर्न के बावजूद हम अपनी जिम्मेदारियां समझते हैं इस समय कि वो हमको डराने की धमकाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, और डराने के धमका के हमको चुप कराने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। मुझे याद है जिस दिन गौरी लंकेश का मर्डर हुआ और गौरी लंकेश मुझे अपना बेटा बोलती थी, ये बात मेरी माँ को पता नहीं थी। तो जब मैंने फेसबुक पे इस बात लिखी कि ये मेरी माँ समानी थी, तो मेरी माँ का फोन आया और बोला कि मैंने सुना है तुमसे बहुत करीब थी और तुम अपना बेटा बोलती थी, बेटा तुम ख्याल रखना तुम्हें कुछ ना हो जाए, लेकिन मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगी तुम कुछ करो मत, जो करना है करो। तो ये डर रहता है, लेकिन ये भी समझदारी है कि ये सब हमको चुप कराने के तरीके हैं, और चुप नहीं होना है। अगर हम चुप हुए तो आई थिंक चुप ही हो जाएंगे, फिर हम में से कोई बचेगा नहीं। हम जितना लड़ेंगे उतना बचेंगे।